Hi everyone, good morning. So welcome back to another session of Still Connect webinar. So before we begin, right, I just want to wish everyone a happy new year. I hope last year's been great and this year's going to be better for you. So my name is Clarence and I'm your program host for today. So, before we go into the big picture part of the sharing today, so just allow me to do some very quick housekeeping. Firstly, here we go. Today's session is being recorded to be available for viewing after the webinar. So after the webinar, we'll be sharing with you some of the thank you links. You can actually check it out in our YouTube and you can rewatch the entire webinar on our YouTube. It will come after. So for fellow architects and engineers, if you wish to claim your LM CPD points and BEM CPD hours, please stay through the entire webinar. We will have a QR code for you at the end of it and a survey link for you to actually put in your LM and BEM membership number, and we'll help you to do the claiming after that. So as usual, we really, really love your questions. So along the way, if you listen to the presentation and you think that you have questions to ask, so please put it down at the Q&A box below. So let me just quickly show you where is the Q&A. So if you look at this one, bottom right, you will see that there are 3 dots. So we can just have to press on the 3 dots and there will be a Q&A button, a Q&A pop-up. And after that, you can just plug in your questions, which we will have a Q&A session at the end of it. So if we are able to, we will answer your Q&A on spot at the end of the session. So a kind reminder, please make sure your questions is directed to either the host or the presenter so we can actually catch your questions after that. So yeah, so great. So let's move in to the main topic. So the webinar title today is Inside the Interdisciplinary Practice of an Artist and Architect. So as the title suggests, that we have a dual profession, an artist and an architect with us today. So I quote him, life's a hobby. So before graduating with a master's in architecture, our speaker today, Lim Wen Jie, was already creating fine arts through sketching, graphic design, photography. And some of these arts have actually paved way to exhibitions, auctions, winning art competitions, and even interviewed by different medias. So in present day, Lim is a design architect and uses art as a subject for his architectural practice to design meaningful buildings. So if you look at the cover, bottom left, you can see some of his drawings are really quite impressive, very incredible. So today he'll be sharing about really his thought design process, how he managed to link spatial relationships, how he captured different angles and perspective, and how he go from conceptualizing to designing one of the buildings. So he will also be sharing some of his artworks. He will also be sharing how I transitioned from an artist to an architect and what are the latest projects that he's been working on. So we are looking forward to that sharing. So our speaker today is Lim Wen Jie, artist and design architect. He has obtained his bachelor's in architecture from UTM, and he further studies in the Master of Architecture from USM. Some of his, as you can see, is quite a young chap. So one of these accolades that they have gotten is like the Asia Young Designer Awards in 2018. He has also obtained the PAM ZSR Architectural Prize and also the PAM Innova Scholarship. I think more pressing so that he has actually done quite a bit of visual works, some of which has been featured in a lot of places, like Revitalizing Penang, which is the 2015 National Top 50 competition winner. And then he was also interviewed and featured by St. Chiu Daily in 2015. Some of his works were also in exhibitions, like the Asia Interface, which is in Strath Harbour, JB, and also went international, whereby his artwork of Bukit China Market was exhibited in Slovenia in the exhibition there. So without further ado, I'm gonna share the highlight over to Mr. Lim Wen Jie. So Wen Jie, over to you.
Hi, thanks, Clarence. Thanks everyone for attending the sharing session today. So I really appreciate that. So let me share about my slide. Second. So you all can see my slide, right? So Today, as what mentioned by Clarence, I will share about what is inside the interdisciplinary practice of an artist and architect. So the whole presentation today will take about 40 to 45 minutes. So I hope I won't overtime. And just some speaker background for you all. I'm the graduate from USM for my bachelor study and the Master of Architecture students in UTM. So I'm the architectural designer right now based in Singapore that involves several projects. For example, sports and recreational master plan, institutions, residential, factory, and conservations. So I'm also a part-time tutor in Singapore in collaborative with one of the art enrichment tuition center. And also I'm the architectural book editor during my master study time. And also founder of the Damu Studio, which is focused on the architectural work and artwork sharing. So architecture is one of the classical forms of fine arts and has always had a strong association with the artwork world. So how arts enhances architecture? So this is actually what I want to discuss today. So in this 45 minutes sharing session, it classifies into 3 categories. The first chapter is art journey. Second chapter is public engagement. And the third chapter is the architectural path. And the final one will be the summary. So let's start with the art journey. Let's go. Okay. I live in a town called Gemas. It is located in Negeri Sembilan. This is a sketch that I've done in 2019. There are many tangible stuffs surrounding me, for example, Malay Kampong, old shop houses, and the most famous is the old railway stations in my hometown. They all really represent the uniqueness of my community. Motorbike is my main transport wherever I go as I don't really have a car access in front of my house. So because it's very narrow. So anyway, Kampong life that I want to emphasize is a better still for me. But you know, when time goes by, I do not know how long can I stay in my hometown. And I know when the time has come, I would go to the big city and explore more opportunities. So in 2013, I managed to enroll USM for my architectural bachelor study. And I know USM located in Penang, and Penang is very fun and a lot of good food to eat. And I met a bundle of good lecturers and friends over there. My first touch of urban sketch was in USM. And this is why here I am and share my little thought to you all today. What impressed me most about Penang is about the old heritage houses, and it really inspires me a lot. And for this slide, I will talk about this Nando's Art Initiative competition that I joined in 2015. And this is my maiden competition ever. I always fascinated by the uniqueness of the architectural style in the Penang heritage town. So the vibe is different. The city is really totally new to me, especially when I came to Penang in 2013 to pursue my bachelor study. So as you can see, the artwork on the right side is being auctioned in Publica KL with the undisclosed price because it's actually the artwork and selling and also the competition. And in the 3-year study of my bachelor in USM, I also joined the Urban Sketchers Penang, but it's not so frequent. And I met a lot of good friends and enthusiasts in sketching as well. So in this picture, the picture depicts a group of people having a live sketch in front of a St. Joe's chapel. And from the urban sketch, you are really to gauge perspective by eyes rather than lots of guidelines. It trains you to become an observant in terms of the textures, colors, materials, softscape, or hardscape surrounding it. So it's really helped while developing our architectural career. So we always told by lecturers, use your eyes to observe everything. So this is the best way to understand the local cultural context. So I know that there are some dilemma from students like what I have been facing last time, how to capture objects or building with the right compositions and perspective and angles. So the easiest way is, ask your friends whether is it good. I mean, your artwork, is it good or not? If not, then just ask him the opinion, how to improve that. Maybe your color choice is a bit odd, or maybe the composition is not right. So for sure, if the consistency and persistency along the way, so you can be very good in sketching. What I mean is you can improve your sketching style. So this is the final products on site, and I spent about 2 or 3 hours to finish this. I use Chinese ink as a color medium and very undefined lines to produce this artwork. So in this picture, it's actually a Penang old shop house. If you know about Penang, this is the shop houses that a row of shop houses are located along the Jalan Lim Leong, which is just next to Komtar and First Avenue. So for me, as an architectural designer, sketching on paper is essential. So regardless how creative you are, you must do a raw sketch on a paper first before the idea can further develop. So same goes to urban sketch. It trains you to become more vigilant to whatever you design. So you can see that there are key points that at the bottom side, which is stroke, shadowing, detailing of ornaments, layering, inside out, and space quality. So these are the keywords while if you want to produce some artworks that can really brings the message, these are the keywords that you have to take note. And there are some people on the ground. If one of the tips to make it more happening is by putting the people. So by putting the people, you can see actually what is the activities going on. And the shadow is very important as well. So the shadow is represented by the hatching. This is the artwork for the typing pasar. The shape of the building is somewhat defined by its line, and it's like beaten by the termites, like, that's what my friends say. So yeah. Another artwork that I want to show is the KLO railway stations. Also, the sketch is somewhat not defined by its shape, but it's more on telling the people what is actually the focus of this particular artwork. So for instance, you can see the Mughal dome architectural style on the top right, and use line to emphasize on the shadow and the depth of the building. It's actually a small piece of artwork, like A5 size. So this takes about like 4 hours, maybe. This is another artwork regarding the Malacca Bukit China Pasar. And for this artwork, it has been selected for annual exhibitions in Slovenia. So for information, Slovenia is near to Switzerland and Croatia. So the highlights of this artwork is the color choice that I adopted is quite minimal and subtle. So it really focused on the horizontality and the shadow to bring out the depth of the environment. So in 2017, I was commissioned by a leading roof supplier specialist to produce 12 numbers of the artworks for a calendar design. So actually, the developer want to try something new rather than just putting up those actual or the real photos. to represent their company profile. So I heard that the feedback is quite okay. Yeah, because it's something new at that time. So when it comes to my UTM master study, because I feel like rather than using this computer aid software, I would be more handy in using these manual sketches. So I try to do something which is a little bit different compared to my other colleagues or my classmates. So in my master study, I'm using my sketch to deliver my idea towards the thinking of the youngsters in Students Hub. So it's actually the Student Hub projects. So when you think about Students Hub, it must be bold, young, and fun. So putting up the activities and the figure inside, you can actually see how is the space quality going on. So personally, I feel black and white is the best medium or the best mode of color that represents what you want to convey the message. Because sometimes if too much of color, it may distract somebody's attentions. So this is the zoom in view for the first story. As you can see, there are some lobbies, there are some amphitheater sittings, there are some supporting spaces, for example, the cafe, the theater, and yeah, and the greenery. So that one is what about the chapter 1 art journey. So let's move on to the chapter 2, which is public engagement workshop. So there are some workshops that have been conducted in JB and Singapore. So my very first official workshop or the maiden workshop was in Rainbow Stationery art shops which is located in nearby to UTM. And that was actually my first time teach urban sketch to my students, and the feedback was quite encouraging. The people are coming from all walks of life. For example, some of them are from uh, teacher. Some of them are from IT, and some of them are from the students, young students. So the sketch topic is about the Straits Electric shophouse in Penang, and the whole sessions of the workshop takes about 2.5 hours, and we start with the shophouse sketching, and subsequently with these food sketches. So what I want to say about this slide is actually sketching ain't difficult. So what we actually need is the proper guidance from someone. So the first key to success in sketching is you have to step out from your comfort zone and try a first step. So that's very important. And after that, I got the invitation from the lecturer from this Southern University College to share about the experience of the urban sketch with the college students. And these students are actually a major in arts, so I got no doubt they are really can do a good works in sketching. But actually, this is their first time to do building sketching. All the while, they only do portraits and still life sketching. So not bad, they are very good. And I also talk about this the revolutions of the Straits electric architecture in Malaysia, particularly in Penang and Singapore from the early 1820 to 1980s. So yeah. So after that, because in my JB workshop, there were 3 attendees came from Singapore. So they invited me to conduct another round of the urban sketch, which is more on the outdoor experience to share with the local um, young children's ranging about 5 years old to 15 years old. Yeah. that means from junior school to high school. The first workshop that been conducted was in Gardens by the Bay. So our thinking, my thinking with the collaborated tuition center was to bring out the children out from classroom. So why don't we teach the children outdoor instead of sitting in front of the computer, which is, I think it could be possible. So there are a few spots to sketch. One of the famous spots was at the super tree at the Gardens by the Bay. So the students are required and being tasked to be an observance to surroundings. So the combinations of the hardscapes, the softscapes, and the landscapes, you have to capture the genes of it. So the objective is to train the children to become a little architect. So one of the main objective or the mission that we want to deliver is to empower the young learner to be aware of how important to participate in the design in the city since very young age, instead of just rely on those those architectural graduate or the local authority to decide what you want, because they are the future leaders and the people who live in this world. So they have a right to design the city. So it's really to inspire them to get interested with the humans and the scenery, and yeah, something that we can think about that. Since the feedback of the Gardens by the Bay workshop is quite encouraged, so we try another session which was in Kampong Glam, Bugis. It's actually located in near to the Chinatown, if you are familiar with Singapore geography. So the students are tasked to draw the almost sultan-most with the pedestrian walker. Students must bear with the hot and humid climates, which this is a very, very big challenge when the time we carry out this workshop over there. And since this particular space is a very popular spot for the tourists, so they have to cope with the pressure as it's very, very distracting by the the pointing from the other people surrounding you. Yeah, so you can see a lot of tourists behind. And what I want to share about this picture is this is primary 2 students, which is, I think his age was 8 years old, and this is his first time to join the workshop. And I asked him why why he can do such a well done drawing, and then he said he really watched the tutorial from YouTube, so it's quite amazed me. So somehow I think YouTube can teach a lot of people to do like cooking or sketching or that. So yeah. And the composition is quite in order, and is incorporated with the landscape, the foliage, the buildings, and also the people inside. So design is really essential for the new generation of children. So that's why, in Singapore, they actually have a new university called Singapore University of Technology and Design. So this design, right, is very important for everyone. So develop design, when you master design, or you master, then you can master, I would say you can master everything. So throughout the conversations after the workshop, right? So the children are seemingly like the outdoor sketching rather than a boring tutorial in classroom. So they talk to their parents that they want to join again if possible, but unfortunately, this was carried out before the COVID time. So during the COVID time, we are unable to carry out any activities outside because of the circuit breaker in Singapore. So hopefully, in these years, we can have carry out another round of urban sketch outdoor. So the boy on the left, was 8 years old that time, and the little cute girl on the right was 5 years old. Yeah, so they got the top two prizes, and I would say all of them very good because it's really based on their imagination, how they describe or they convey their message and what they see and what they sketch. Yeah, so hope this can unleash their creativity in their future career lah, and also the other subjects. So in 2022, I joined with one of the Singapore lecturers to start with the NFT um, experience. So I'm still exploring this NFT and to familiarize the whole system because I'm not ready yet, so I won't share too much about this. Yeah, but it's really a trend, I would say. But it's still a lot of things to familiarize. Yeah. So chapter 3, I will talk about this architectural path, which is the project involvements in Singapore. So okay, for this particular slide, architectural path, what I want to emphasize is the architectural, after all, is equal parts and science, a craft that requires a mind that is both imaginative and inquisitive. So arts and architecture is correlated. So if you have a proper art sense, your architectural journey wouldn't be an issue. So in this, wait, I saw somebody cannot listen to what I say, right?
Oh, it's fine. We'll manage that. So I think we can go on.
Oh, I can go on.
Leave this to
Okay.
us. Thank you.
Okay. Wait, mm. So the first project I want to share with you all is the St. Joseph Institution International Schools in Singapore. And we'll talk about some idea about how to achieve it to become a green mark building. So the next project will be the Bedok Sports Master Plan that we emphasize on the public inclusiveness. So this is a St. Joseph Institution International. So just some project background for you all. SJII is a school campus which has a junior and senior school in operation. If you're familiar with the context of Singapore, it is actually located in a very prime location next to the Novena downtown and also Bishan area. It's a mature estate which is surrounded by a few schools and HDB housing development flats. So this A&A, or we call it as a addition and alteration projects, comprises a range of the projects covering new buildings and old buildings. So what we do in this project was architectural, structural, and many scope works and fitting out works. So the challenges are some buildings built on a slope, which I'm going to share with you all later. And this is the live school buildings, which you have to, you cannot have any noisy sound, I mean, during their schooling time. And the next one is a very short period of contract, which is about 7 months of contract to finish up because they have a targeted timeline to meet for the new school admission next year. The fourth important point is the controlled working time due to the nearby residentials and school operations. The next one is the limited land to do development expansion because Singapore is scarce of land and they really have to think about how to maximize the potential within a limited land. And the last one is there are some part and parcel, there are some other contractor inside the site, so you have to inside the site, and we have to deal with it. So you can see that the new buildings, new proposed buildings for number 7 and number 8 will sit on the slope, but actually you cannot see the slope. Yeah, because, okay, but actually it's sit on the slope. And there are some new buildings popping out, like for example, the media buildings, arts buildings, and also a science block. And associated with some heritage buildings inside. So it's quite challenging, I would say. And before you design something, right, you have to come up with some sketch idea on how to develop further in your design and present to the owner. Because most of the building owners or the operators, they like to change design. So you have to make sure your effort is not being wasted. Then you have to make sure the idea that you develop should can convince to the owner and the money they pay is really worth the sense. So you can see the sketches the floor plans on the top left, and then the the bottom left is about the sketches of the sections, and the right is the sections about the detailing sections of the steel structure, how they wrap the buildings around and with incorporated with the ceiling and lighting. So one of the interesting part about this project is we are going to build two buildings on the slope. And one of the constraints why we can't build on the flat land is because, which is you can see on the first picture on the right side, is they have a FIFA standard artificial turf, and it's already done, and they can't afford to sacrifice the space for the new buildings. So worst to worst, and we have to find the best way to engineer the buildings on the slope with the advice from the geotechs and the CMS. Okay, so the site clearing and the soil nailing is one of the what we think about to stabilize the slope. So we also think about using the ball piles or other better engineering solutions. But at the end, we're using soil nailing because due to a certain reason. And we have to see whether the existing soil condition can actually cope with or withstand the load of the three-story buildings, and to justify how many number of soil nail to be inserted into the soil bed. So as a main structural building frame using the steel, how can we gain some points in a green mark? So green mark, for information, is equivalent to GBI in Malaysia. So and also some other countries like Europe, they also use a standard called LEED, LEED. So they are quite similar, which is I will talk about this later. So by using steel to construct the main frame of the main building, it really helped to save a lot of time, which we can match with the target timeline. As I mentioned before, we really have a very short, it's a very fast track project. So it's only 7 months that we can do. And there's a lot of people behind overlook at these projects because they have a board of committee, all that. So we must make sure what we decide is really correct and follow the correct path. So other than steel, right, how can you gain some points in the BCA Green Mark assessment form? Is by using, like temper laminated or the heat strengthening glass to gain I think 1 to 2 points. Like it depends on the coverage of the Windows parameter. So in this particular project, we decided to use a DGU glass. digital glass actually, what is so different between digital glass and normal tempered laminated glass? Because tempered laminated glass, in the common market, they have a 6 mm plus 1.52 adhesive and plus 6 mm another glass that's sandwiched in between. But for the digital glass, right, they have a 6 mm with the air gap of let me see, the air gap of a 6 mm as well, the airspace, and also 6 mm of another green glass. So the difference is the gap in between, which is more than the common tempered laminated glass. So the transmittance value for these glass selections is 43%, and the reflectance is about 8%. And why we choose digital glass and not the normal tempered laminated glass is because the building orientation we are facing right now in this project is facing to the west. So the digital glass can effectively filter most of the thermal into the buildings. So it will make the buildings cooling. And not only that, because as I say, the site constraint in front of the buildings is actually the FIFA the uh, artificial play turf. So they have to filter the sound as well from the students during evening co-curriculum time. So the shading coefficient they can achieve is about 0.46 and the U value is about 3.2. So just a short summary about this project is because the building orientation that we can't really it's not in our hand. I mean, the building orientation, whatever it is, because the site constraint, then we can only follow whatever we have. So the the orientation is facing to the west. But if you can choose, of course, try not to choose facing to the west, but we got no choice. And that's why we use a digital glass to solve this issue. The second point that I want to emphasize is, the roof selections also can gain some points in BCA green mark. So you must remember the roof, try not to choose those very bright color and try to choose those dark color, more on the dark side. So you can see in Singapore, right, they now BCA encourage to have black painting of the buildings. So with a certain reason, because one of the main reason is it can prevent glaring to the neighbor. Because sometimes especially it's in the downtown area, right? The glass that you propose sometimes is too glaring. So they want to make sure the glass that you choose is more on a dark color, maybe uh, bluish green or greenish blue or grayish color, and also the facade itself also in gray. It can really help to uh, mitigate the glaring to the surroundings. So the next one is the aircon with the energy saving. So the aircon, you have to choose maybe with the inverter, so that in long run, you can save some electricity bill. So with this, you can gain some points in BCA Green Mark. So the fourth point is the greenery ratio over the site. For this particular project, we retain about 60% of the greenery, including this artificial turf, and the 40% is a build up for the buildings, which is the footprint of the buildings. So this, if you can comply with the certain range set by the BCA, Green Mark department, then you can gain some points. Another one is the precast or the lightweight concrete material. So in the local authority here, they really discourage to use those very costly and very labor that kind of like using bricks or what. So lightweight and precast is encouraged, and you can gain some points over there. And also certified by the BCA Green Mark as a green product. So it will be very good if you use a green product for the lightweight concrete and precast concrete for your wall panels. Next one is the water savings sanitary fittings. It also can let you gain some marks. The last three will be the site management, modularity of windows and doors, and maintenance complexity. So just some little bit background for this picture. It's actually a 3-story buildings, quite a straightforward buildings, and it focuses on the modularity of the windows and the facade. So when it comes to the construction period, it's really straightforward to design such a roof, such a windows, and the space spatial planning. For the corridor and also the internal side of the multipurpose hall, as you can see right now, the railing that we propose is actually very modular, and we focus on the practicality for the school to operate on time. So the clerestory lights on the right is the day lighting that we intend to bring in to the multipurpose hall. But of course, with the certain limit of the fenestration of the light. If not, they will be very hot and will consume a lot of our energy. So the next project sharing is the Bedok netball and volleyball hub. It is an ongoing project, and it is a design proposal to the sports council. So the type of the project for this is the sports and recreational, and the type of the development is a netball and a futsal. Is purely a sports facilities project with no any F&B. Yeah, it's just a netball and futsal. And the clients is the local sports council, and the location is at the Bedok North, which is quite up from the city area. The estimated site area is about 5.6 acres. Proposed GFA is about 3,445 square meter. Plot ratio is 0.15. Why the plot ratio is very low is because they want to maintain the environments of surroundings to be low and down to earth. The estimated built-up area for the landscape is 40%, and the built-up area is about 40%, and the landscape is about 60%. So these are the site context of surrounding. You can see the line demarcated in red is our site, and the number 1 to 8 is the building surrounding. And before we start to develop more on the design, we have to study about how can we utilize the site to make it more fun to the local community. Because when we designed this site, right, one of the requirements from the Sports Council was to make it more public engagement by all the people, because it's surrounded by the matured housing estate. And it is really located in the original sports facilities. For example, number 4, 5, 6 is a stadium. It's a sepak takraw center, open stadium, and some silat spaces inside. So with the old shape of the site, we have to consider 3 main items as requested by the Sports Council: the netball area, the volleyball area, and the facilities block area. But unfortunately, I don't really play netball and volleyball, so I have to go and study what is the international standard for this so that it can propose a design lah. Yeah. So we also need to consider about the public circulations and the connectivity to the MRT, to the HDB. The picture on the bottom left is how can we make the netball and the volleyball building or the stadium in a modularity way. And the picture on the bottom right is how can we integrate landscape inside and providing some connectivity to the people they classify them into a public space and also a private space. So at the end, this is the some sketches you can see. Okay. So they have some sheltered netball courts and sheltered volleyball courts. And they also want to have some beach volleyball, which is really beach kind of a feeling of the site. And also open netball courts, which is on the top part. So I would like to share a little bit about some of the final design of the entire space, of the entire development master plan. Let me, okay. Okay. This is a drop-off point, and this is the existing Bedok Stadium, which we are going to retain this, and this is not in our contract. So the main circulation is along this route, and this is the drop-off area. And when you reach here, right, it's actually you will arrive the facilities block, for example, the offices and registration counter, and also the toilets, changing room. And then only you move towards to this area, which is the sheltered netball courts, which is item 2. Okay. And then if you move to the right from this point is the sheltered volleyball courts. Okay. And then the people will diffuse from these two spaces to another area, which is unsheltered netball courts, and to the beach volleyball courts. So not forgetting to provide some landscape design in these projects, because it's really one of the most important requirements from the Sports Council. So how you beautify the space, and the as a space as a site is more than 4 acres, so we have to consider about those retention pond or the retention swell to in order to cope with the excessive overflow of the rain during raining season. So this one is a main drop-off porch, which I will describe in the next slide on how we develop the car porch. So because this project, we design is for the netball and volleyball, right? So we must make sure the team is matched and the people got the welcoming feeling when they arrive their destinations. So we are trying to use the gene of the volleyball and the netball itself to craft out by using the perforated mesh and tempered glass, so that it's really when you cast the shadow, right, during a different time like 9 a.m. or 12 afternoon or 3 in the late afternoon, you can see the shape that throw on the ground. And then the facilities block, we are focusing on modularity. And at the same time, we also need to emphasize about this public circulations and also the player circulations. Because sports facilities, we have to consider about all this is to make sure the players and also the public won't mingle around and affect the tournaments or performance at that time. We also conducted some computer-aided simulations about these two sheltered netball and volleyball courts. So the study is to justify the correct orientations of the buildings and how the facade really help to block the excessive daylighting, and also to provide some bare natural ventilations, not so windy, but ventilations inside the building in order to give a better thermal comforts to the players. Same goes to the office block. We also do some simulations to test what's the best thermal comforts. So the type of construction for this tool design we are using is ppbc. So what is ppbc? I will talk later. So you can see this is the rendered of the projects. From here, you can easily identify what I mentioned before. So this is the sheltered netball courts. Okay. And then the right one is the sheltered volleyball courts. So at the center is the foyer or the meet-up points. And this is the car porch design that drop-off design that I mentioned to you all just now. This is the open courts over here and over here. And this is the MRT running across, and this is the green line. If you're familiar with Singapore MRT, it's a green line. And it's all the way from the Changi South area. And there's a challenge for this project is you have to consider about the impact, the construction impacts to the load impacts to the nearby elevated MRT viaduct. So the one we still in discussion with the local transport authority over here. And with the site surroundings, you can see the HDB area. So how can actually your master plan promote the public engagement in these projects? These are the annotations that you can see clearly. And I will just freeze for a few seconds for you all to look into. Okay, so this is another view from the look down view from the MRT viaduct. And you can see that if I'm the MRT passenger, right, I can actually look down and really see the design of it. And this curve things is the connections from the nearby bus stop to the sites. Okay, and then all the car will stop here, and the people surrounding will come to the sites and enjoy the facilities and the spots provided. Some interior for the sheltered netball courts for reference. So this shelter can actually accommodate for 2 international netball courts. So there is a mezzanine floor, which you can see right now over here, which serves as an audience platform and can house for estimated 250 pax at one time. So the height is about 14 meter, which is compliant to the international standard. So next move on to the volleyball courts. Also the same thing, the shelter can accommodate for the 2 international volleyball courts, which this is the one, this is another one. And the internal space will be airy with the assistance of the air scoop. So these are the air scoop design that incorporated with the silhouette of the players who playing the netball and volleyball. So it can somehow bring out the message of the people. If I'm the first time comer to the site, right, I can see, oh yeah, this is the volleyball and the netball courts. So they will try to understand what is the design idea behind. So because we are living in a very hot and humid country, there must be some shading device to help to reduce the excessive daylighting. Okay. And this is the exterior of facade of the one of the sheltered netball courts. You can see the air scoop fins, air scoop fins, and also the aluminum fins. And also this is the roof, the pitch roof, no, the pitch roof, the curved roof, which is repetitive in some way. So I will talk about the roof design later. So before I further my roof design for these particular projects, I will talk about this ppbc, which is a prefabricated, pre-finished volumetric constructions. So what is about that? Actually, ppbc is equivalent to IBS in Malaysia, and ppbc is the standard terminology used in Singapore lah. So actually it's the same. So the construction method is three-dimensional modules which are completed with the internal finishes, fixtures, and fittings in an off-site fabrication facility. So before it delivered and installed on site, it is actually similar to the IBS system in Malaysia, as I mentioned. So for the toilets and offices, it comes with modular. So it's like a Lego. You just, from one module, you duplicate to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, even more than that. So it depends on how complex is your so-called the box is. Because this is only the one-story building, so it shouldn't be an issue for ppbc. And the one of the tender requirements from the Sports Council is maybe in the future, because the tenancy of the site, right, is about 10 years. So if let's say in the future, the local authority, they want to redevelop into something else, they can easily dismantle and fabricate in somewhere. So it's like a Lego concept. So the same goes to the facilities block for the office. It actually comprises of 4 boxes and then it joined together. And with the additional of the spine of the, I mean the connecting spine on top for the people to walk from one place to another place. So we want to try something new. Can we really use ppbc in a very huge, uh, the courts, for example, the netball courts? Can we make it modular? Why not, right? So you can see this isometric view for this. It comprises a few components inside, and then this is the portal frame of the steel and how it really combined together to form a netball courts. And for the layout wise, if you can see on the screen, there are actually 3 modules. 1, 2, 3, and then it repeated 3, 2, 1, but it's flipped over. Okay, and then because why we have different modules is because of the length itself, which is quite a constraint for us. So that's why we can't really provide one module, but instead of that, we have to provide 3 different modules that repeated twice. Okay. And this is actually the side elevations for that. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. Another one for volleyball courts, we also provide a modular concept about this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there will be 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Okay, so this is quite straightforward. Okay, I hope you guys understand and the projects that I have discussed just now for the St. Joseph School and also the Bedok master plan. Yeah. Okay, when it comes to the summary, right? So actually want to emphasize is, from a paper to build products is really give me a sense of satisfactions. Especially this is a completed project. So I really appreciate that my parents really give me this kind of skill to pursue my study. So I won't feel really stressed along the way. So yeah. Now what I want to emphasize is the learning curve is very long and keep trying the new things. And during my study time, I wouldn't know I really conduct a workshop to the people and I just want to try something new, which is really make me to know a lot of friends surrounding me. Yeah. And same goes to how music relates to architecture, how cooking relates to architecture, and how marketing relates to architecture. Because hobby is very important, and please make use of hobby. If your hobby is like to sleep, so maybe you can see how sleep can relate to your architecture. So I like to teach children how to sketch. Meanwhile, I'm also pursuing how to find a balance point to leverage my hobby and career. Because some of my friends ask me whether should I change my career to full arts or to become a full artist, but I'm saying no. At the moment, I'm not really thinking about that. So just focus on the architecture because architecture is very fun lah. So compared to other professions, yeah. So architecture is a hard work like anything. It can be both challenging and rewarding. And what is the most exciting is that every day is different to the last. So and there are so many different opportunities and paths you can take. For those students who attend today's meeting, so I know you guys are really in dilemma to pursue your 5-year study. Some of you like after 3 years graduate from the bachelor, then you want to start already. So I would say it's up to you, but I would say your persistency is very important, and I would recommend you all to finish the whole journey of the architecture, and it's really pretty hard, and we really have to learn a lot. Like, nowadays we have this kind of beam and Rhino, all that. It's really non-stop learning. So the one of the disadvantage of having all of this new technology is this kind of manual sketch is really uh, not really popular right now among the youngsters. So what I want to encourage to a youngster is you guys really need to brush up your sketching skills because yeah, sketching is quite handsome. So if you know how to sketch, so people will appreciate that. Yeah. So I thank you to you all and thank you for attention. I wishing you all a happy new year. Thank you.
So thank you, Lim Wen Jie. That was a very inspirational sharing. So we went through extreme spectrums from art. We became like really detailing into architecture. So okay, let me just quickly hijack the screen. Okay, so in the interest of time, right? So we have actually dropped the survey link inside the chat. If you need to leave early, please fill in the details, especially for fellow professions like architect and engineers. Do fill in your survey inside the chat. So for those of you who can stay with us throughout the Q&A session, please do. We really love to see your attendance, and we appreciate the retention. So okay, so I'm going to jump straight into the Q&A. So hang on, let me set. Okay, we have actually first one from Jaya. So Jaya was asking during when you were sharing on the, I believe the St. Joseph in the preparation of the soil. So what was the type of soil that was used there? Was it lazurite?
I have to check first because not really laterite, but it's associated with some other kind of soil inside. But it's really what I know from the geotech engineer was it's really a pretty hard site to excavate and put up the soil to stabilize the slope. So maybe I will need Clarence help and he will help me to give you the answer in the future. Maybe
No
I
worries,
need
no
to
worries.
find out the message first. Yeah.
So Jaya, just hang on. We will email you separately on the answer. We just quickly check on that. As far as it was laterite, not lazurite. I just mentioned it as like a dual name. Okay, so I have a next one from Arifa. So just now, Arifa was asking when you were showing the visual of the Bedok netball hub. So she was asking, what is the software used to develop the illustration? Which I believe so.
Wait, let me think. I think it's Lumion, yeah. I think it's Lumion. Because Lumion is quite fast and yeah, especially when you're rushing for the submission. I think Lumion is the best. Yeah.
Perfect. That explains. Okay. Okay, let us jump forward. So then the next one from Joyce. So yeah, Joyce actually just mentioned. Just want to have a quick recap. What does PBBC stand for?
Oh, ppbc is the ppbc prefabricated. Wait a second.
I think it's prefabricated, pre-finished volumetric.
Yeah, prefabricated, pre-finished volumetric construction.
This is equivalent to the IBS system in Malaysia. I think IBS is more commonly known in Malaysia for
Yeah.
PE. I believe so,
But
right?
what I want to highlight is, this ppbc, in terms of construction wise, what you can see is very good lah. But the thing is whether is the contractor willingly to pay the upfront cost to buy this ppbc, because contractor has to really take risk if your module come arrive on site, there's a leakage and all that. So the insurance can't really secure your defects. So there are pros and cons, but if you are really rushing for completion, then maybe PVC is one of the choice. Yeah, but the upfront cost is quite high.
Exactly. I think we are jumping forward because there is a question coming from Surveyor Ng, whereby he asked about, is it cost effective when it comes to modular systems? I think you actually gave an upfront question on that already.
Okay.
So let me jump to the next question by Surveyor Ng as well. Are there any sound barrier being used to block noises from the MRT lines?
I think also installed in some of the area in KL, right? If not mistaken, there are some sound barrier partitions, which they themselves say it can really somehow block the excessive decibel to the residential area. Yes, I would say yes, but for the detail I can't really give you a lot of details because this project, the sports project, right, is not habitable space. So we are not really considered about the noise that transmit to the sports facilities.
Okay.
Unless you are saying if this is near to the HDB area. So yes, there are some criteria that you need to look into this.
Okay, so I believe there is no barriers being used to block sound in the project.
Yes, there's not, because it's not the place for people to stay inside. It's just a sports complex.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks for that. So I have, jumping to the next one, I have from Grace. How does the installation time differ between ppbc and conventional methods like concrete precast? I think just now I spoke about timing, right? But how exactly in your view, how is it different?
Oh, okay. Okay, one of the biggest advantages that ppbc can bring to the project is the ease of construction that really translates to a shorter period. So I'll give you an example. Crown Hotel beside Changi Airport, that is really a good example to mention, because the actual time taken to complete the whole high rise, I think medium rise, the medium rise building was only 4 months. So compared to the 12 months of the conventional method of construction, why the hotel they choose ppbc is because the earlier you can construct it completely, the earlier you can operate.
Exactly.
Yeah. So from there they can generate revenue lah. So as easy as that. Yeah.
Okay, I think the other side of it is the cost, which I mentioned earlier, but timing is definitely a perk when it comes to that. And I do agree that as soon as you have the building ready, you can actually start generating. So time is a very strong perk in this. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to move forward to the next one. By Alip. So it said nowadays, with more awareness on the GBI and sustainability, so in your opinion, will the cost of construction of these buildings, will it reduce or increase? So just to recap, when it comes to sustainable builds, do you think the cost of construction was going to increase or decrease? So it's okay, you can share your view. It's a very tough question.
Sorry, can you repeat? I want to catch the keyword. Sorry,
okay, so nowadays, with more awareness on green building and sustainability,
yeah.
So in your opinion, will the cost of construction of this kind of buildings, will it go up or go down?
Okay, I just want to give my own experience because the time when I complete this St. Joseph institution and BCA acknowledge that this is a green building is because there are several things that we comply. And actually, to comply with green mark or GBI it's not very difficult, I would say. It's just you have to be careful when it comes to the material and the product selections. So for instance, like aircons, you try to choose those can save energy ones, and those water fittings, you try to choose those that can save water ones. So I think based on that few points, you can easily get your green marks. So it's not like if you go for green mark or the GBI building, it will cost you a lot for your construction cost. It's not like that. You have to be sure that all the selections can help you to gain marks. So not really more as the more expensive you have, then the more
Sustainable it
the more
gets, right?
prestigious of your building is. Yeah, it is not like, I mean, the concept is wrong. Because a lot of people feel like, oh, when I want to achieve green mark, wow, it may be very costly, then everything has to be high class, all that. And no, yeah, I would say no, because it's really up to what is your selection is. Yeah.
Perfect. I think we have captured that very incredibly.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we have time for one last question. Okay, it's from Arifa. So, how long time does it take to explore and build up the design for the sports complex, for the Bedok Sports Complex? How long was the time that you took to conceptualize and design?
2 months,
2 months
because
time. Mm.
that one is near that time is I think is last year. That time was near to Chinese New Year, so we are really rushing to complete this proposal lah. But all the while we are really having a very close engagement with the 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 contractors and the engineers, and yeah, it's actually 2 months or 2.5 months. I can't remember, but it's around there. Yeah.
Then I believe so. Right now, it's in the stage of building. Then
Uh, is still design refinements period.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay, Ken. So I just want to thank everyone for your questions. We're gonna move on very quickly. So do allow me 2 more minutes because it's very seldom we get to gather so much crowd. Also, before that, thank you, Lim Wen Jie. So I just want to thank you for your sharing. Thank you for all of the slides, the wonderful sharing you have, and then the passion between an artist and architect. Just wanna on behalf of everyone give you a very big thank to what you have shared today. So okay, I'm gonna jump forward to this one. So as some of you may have known, that BlueScope we actually have a re-roofing initiative for our community. So this idea actually came about, I think 2 years ago, at the peak of COVID, when everyone was talking about like really, people are raising flags. They're talking about how they're struggling to find food to put in the table and all these things. So we came with the idea saying that food is one thing, but then having the right shelter, that is another right to living, especially for our fellow Malaysians community. So we actually went out and seek for people who are struggling severely impacted under a bad roof. So what we did is that we went out and we got to solve this person who may not have the privilege to just repair or change the roof, and then we help them to re-roof. We gathered all our partners. We gathered from roof formers to accessory providers to installers, and we have managed last year to finish up 8 projects, 8 different buildings for all those who are in need, and it involves community buildings, homes, and also. So the agenda today, right? We just want to say that we are reopening for more. So just for all the fellow audiences, if you have any projects in mind or someone you know which is really suffering from a bad roof, do let us know. You can either scan the QR code or you can email to me, and then we can actually converse further on how we can actually help these people with a new roof. So really, thank you for that. So next thing is we are looking for speakers. So if some of you have been with us since the very first few sessions, so if you have something to share, something incredible, we could talk more, and you could be our next speaker. So it's very simple. Just email your interest to events@bluescope.com, or you can email me directly, and you can converse further. And you could be, we can talk, we can plan for that. Okay. So thank you, everyone. So I believe the link has been shared in the chat, but again, we just want to flush it out. So just make sure you do your survey, especially if you want to claim your CPD points. And I just want to thank you everyone for being here with us. So thank you and have a great